Back with India market open, the implied open suggesting a flat start. Independent of what the implied open is suggesting, frankly, I think you should expect a flat start, simply because ahead of the MPC meet, it's going to be very difficult to get some very remarkable action in the markets. But bottom-up activity will not be ruled out. Remember, I mean, we are 2 days ahead of the MPC meet. Yesterday, stocks like Quick Heal, for example, was up some 17%. So, a clutch of stocks moving around. Nilesh Jain, head and AVP of Technical and Derivatives Research at Centrum, with us on the show as well. Nilesh, good morning to you. What's top of mind today? Let's start off with your ideas for the morning, because it seems like it's going to be very bottom-up. There might not be too many trades in the Nifty.
Morning, Neeraj. Morning, everyone. So yes, yesterday we did see some bit of recovery from the lower levels in the indices, specifically broader markets, where we have seen a lot of outperformance in last few trading sessions. So stock-specific action is something that we believe that is likely to continue within sectoral space. If you look at chemicals, railway, and defense, so where we have seen some bit of momentum. So within chemical pack, Tata Chemical is something that is looking strong on the chart, given the kind of recovery that we have seen with the formation of higher term and higher bottom on the daily time frame chart. So we are expecting a follow-up move to continue in this particular stock towards 940. So that's the immediate target. One can keep a stop loss below 899. Another stock on the long side, that is JSW Energy. This particular stock is on the verge of a breakout from its falling trend line. It has already reclaimed its 50-day moving average. Yesterday, we have seen a good volume participation. So looking at the overall setup, I think JSW Energy may touch the levels of 524 to 540 on the upside, with a stop loss below 499. JSW Energy is a buy.
Very interesting. Okay. Interesting that there are energy companies coming in the realms of trading, because I think that pack has gone a bit quiet. Nirav, I mean, almost everybody talks about energy transitions. If you just look at the last 6 months, the power producers have largely been inactive, right? I mean, in some power grid lying at that 300 mark for like so many months now. At some point of time, the cycle might break. But is this giving a chance to buy or invest into any of these, not power equipment, but power grid or the Tata Powers, JSW Energies of the world?
Well, I think the focus of the market has been fair and square on the power T&D space, transmission and distribution space, and thereafter, of course, we have seen the shift towards renewable energy makers, because renewable energy has seen a 35% increase in the capacity which has been generated. So I think markets are focusing over there, and a lot of action on the power generation side, that is the likes of an NTPC or a Tata Power or a JSW Energy. On and off, we tend to see some moves in these stocks, but largely I think these stocks have been quiet, because a lot of generation capacity, upcoming generation capacity, is already factored into the price at this point of time. So I think the valuations are muted at this point of time, are likely to stay that way at least in the foreseeable future.
Off power, Nirav, one of the updates that came through yesterday was REC's plan to raise 1.55 lakh crore rupees via non-convertible debentures. And okay, so this is par for the course. This is effectively raw material for the company, because that's how it lends. But I find it interesting that it's a large amount of money to be raised, 1.55 lakh crore. Could it be that they're going to be using the 50 basis points of cuts and the further 25 that is expected tomorrow to reduce their cost of borrowing significantly by churning the debt that they have? And what are the implications, according to you, that will have on their margins?
Opportune time to raise the funds, because you have the benefit of lower interest rates. Liquidity is available in the system, and at the same time you're having best of both the worlds, because the execution is also picking up. As I pointed out, that in the renewable energy space, we have achieved 25 gigawatt capacity addition as compared to 18.5 gigawatt capacity, and it's really picking up fast. And if one were to go by the numbers which we have seen of all the renewable energy makers, whether it is a Suzlon or an Inox Green or a Vari, most of these companies, their body language is very positive, their outlook is very, very confident. So I think this augurs extremely well for both the parties, the financier as well as the power generator.
Nirav, would you buy either REC or PFC at this current level?
Well, we've already invested into PFC as well as REC, so we continue to hold.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some big movers in trade, and let's actually talk first about the big companies and what's leading the list. You have, in fact, Power Grid incidentally up and about close to 2% at the start. Shriram Finance also leading. It has been one of the top gainers in the recent past. HDFC Bank, a solid move up about 1% or so. Is there a trade on HDFC Bank, Nilesh, would you say? And 1% up move yesterday also, it contributed in a healthy fashion.
All right, Alex, it's a buy because if you see the structure of HDFC Bank in last couple of weeks, we have seen consolidation in this stock, and it is trading in a kind of a triangle pattern. And if it breaks about 1955, it will be considered as a triangle pattern breakout. Then the target would come around 2050 to 2100. So it's a buy at current level, buy on decline with a stop loss below 1920. Immediate target would be somewhere around 1980 to 2000. Position target comes somewhere around 2100. So buy can be bought at current level and can be added on declines as well as a portfolio buy.
Okay, Newgen Soft is looking reasonably good at the start today. I wonder if that will hold. As it sometimes does, these moves dissipate. It's up about 4% or so. We told you about that order win earlier in the session, or rather earlier in the day. It's time for the big brokerage call of the day, and we've got one that we don't normally talk about. Ambit has sent out a note or has a note initiating coverage on inter-arch building projects with a buy, and there's a considerable upside of 36%, if I'm not mistaken. Harsh, is that right? And quite a considerable upside. Why is that?
Yeah, 31%, Alex, to the current market price. What they're saying is it's just one of the three big players within the pre-engineered building industry in India, and therefore has a moat already in that sense. What's the edge? It's the track record of execution that Interarch holds at this point. They have long-standing relationships with 80% of the orders that they receive being repeat orders. So customers coming back, definitely a positive. They have been winning larger orders as well. The average size of the order has been growing. In fact, the average order size has gone up by over 2.5 times since pre-COVID levels. So you're seeing that play through. The order book currently is at 1.1 times FY25 revenue, and the near-term growth trajectory therefore and the visibility is therefore quite solid. You're also seeing traction driven by rising penetration, the JSPL tie-up that they have, and solutions across industries that they continue to introduce. Cost competitiveness and industry best margins further add to the comfort that Ambit has. They're expecting FY25 to 28 top line to grow 17% CAGR, EBITDA 23%, PAT 21%. They're also therefore suggesting a 1 year forward price to earnings multiple of around 25 times. So keep your eye out on this one. It's not looking too expensive in that sense.
Okay, pull up something like an IGI. I'm just wondering, Nilesh, would you trade this? Because in the last two sessions, the 3rd of June, 4th of June yesterday, it was up as much as 5%. In the pre-open today, it's up about 3%. I'm just wondering whether there's a trade here.
Looking at the structure of yesterday's move, in fact, we have seen a good breakout from its previous 3 months consolidation. So IGIL, yes, we may see a follow-up move towards 425 to 435, but it's not advisable to chase at higher levels because the risk and reward is not favorable. If somebody is already holding, can stay put, keeping a stop loss below 401. But the structure from a very short-term perspective looks positive for 425 to 435.
Okay. Few others that are moving this morning. IGI we spoke about. There's a Morgan Stanley feedback note on it. That's moving. Wellspun Living we spoke about. That Jeffrey's call on it with a big upside. Let's see what's happening there. We spoke about Indegene, and that has been moving as well. Even as we know who are the buyers in some of those key stocks. I see another good day perhaps for some of the rail stocks. That rail move is not done yet from the likes of it and the looks of what we're seeing at 9:08 when the pre-open session is done. So look at an IRFC, for example, look at a Jupiter Wagons, look at a RITES. So you're seeing some movement in rail stocks as well. Nilesh, just we had a piece earlier in the day about railway stocks and what the fundamentals are looking like. But on the charts, is there anything that you would look at favorably from this space?
Right. So we have already covered 4 stocks on in our technical recommendation yesterday. We have suggested to our client. So JWL, IRCON, IRFC, TexRail. These are the few names that we have already covered. We still believe that this momentum is likely to extend further. IRCON has already rallied. So there is no point chasing this particular stock after a spurt of 14-15%. Better to wait for some meaningful dip. But yes, JWL is something that one can look at. For upside further move towards 420 to 435 can be seen from a short-term perspective. With a stop loss below 392, JWL is something that is looking positive on the chart. Apart from that, IRFC is another stock that is also looking positive for a further move towards 148 to 150 on the upside. So that's the immediate target. Stop loss can be placed at 141.
No, please carry on.
Yeah, I was spotting the defense back once again. And of course, some of this might dissipate, but if we can pull up the contributors or the constituents of the defense index, then everything from a Zentech to a Garden Reach to a Cochin Shipyard up and about in trade today as well. HAL, of course, that update came through and it's up 0.8% in the pre-open session. I'm just wondering, Nilesh, at this point, and I've been asking, unfortunately, I've been asking for the past, I think 5 or 10 sessions. Should you call it? Should you book profits? If you manage to get it 1 month back, the defense index is up 28% or thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken, close to 30%. Would you book it?
See, Alex, the momentum is still looking strong, and we have seen a continuation of a higher and higher formation across all defense pack. The outperformers are GRFC, Mazgaon, Cochin Shipyard. In fact, looking at the structure now as well, I believe the momentum should extend further, but yes, it's advisable to keep booking profit in multiple tranches. So 50% kind of profit can be booked at current level, because if you see any further any meaningful dip on the back of profit taking, that can be again used as a buying opportunity. So from a trading perspective, yes, profit can be booked and can be bought again at lower levels, but positionally I think this momentum should extend further. As far as HL is concerned, the upside target comes around 5,250 to 5,400, and GRSC, this particular counter, in fact, yesterday has given a big breakout. And if at all you see any dip towards 3,200 to 3,150, use this dip to add GRSC on the long side. The target on the upside comes around 3,500 to 3,600.
Just take a quick look at what's happening to some of the big movers from yesterday. I wonder what's happening with Spark this morning after the pre-open session has ended. Okay, completely flat over there. Let's see what's happening with the Swiggy and an Eternal. That was a big theme of the day yesterday. Is that continuing? Not really. Swiggy seeing a pullback there, about 0.5% up. Eternal moving on. Interestingly, NTPC Green Energy, another one that is in focus, about 2% up this morning. So is a Honasa. Honasa showing some movement there as well. Nirav, I just wonder, on Honasa's numbers actually didn't turn out as bad as one would have penciled in. It was a positive surprise for this quarter. If you're looking at that space, the BPC space going in, monsoon, consumption push, is this a company that you would look at all?
Well, the macros definitely are likely to improve, but that should trickle down to the micro level as well. So I think we'll wait for the quarterly numbers. We'll see the next quarter numbers and then only decide whether we want to enter the stock or not.
Okay, so not at these levels. BPC, beauty and personal care, is something that Nirav is not so excited about at all. In terms of platform companies, Nilesh, would you be looking at the favorites, Eternal and Swiggy, one way or the other?
See, Eternal, reason I'll tell you, the stock has constantly faced resistance in the zone of 240 to 245. And now today it is opening about 245 levels, that's 248, as I can see on the screen, is the opening for Eternal. That will be a breakout on the chart. So we can expect this particular counter to witness a follow-up move towards 255 to 260. So purely from a trading perspective, since the counter has given a good breakout from its previous 6 months consolidation, so yes, there should be some bit of momentum to continue in this particular stock towards 260 to 270 as well. So stop loss should be placed at 237, and I would buy at present Eternal.
Okay, so Eternal is another one that you're looking at this morning. You know, as the pre-open session has paired out, let's talk about Nilesh, a Zentech, a HAL. If you would look at any of the defense plays this morning.
We have already discussed about defense, GRSC. We still believe that momentum should continue. HL is another stock. Yes, of course. Although the counter is trading in the over territory, but looking at the structure now, if at all it breaks above 5,000, then another 100 to 150 point move can be seen in HL as well. So stop loss should be placed at 4850, and defense pack, I think the momentum should continue.
Okay. Nilesh, is this, sorry, I'm just revisiting. So this is your top call, I presume. Just one word on some of the other names that have really shown up in trade in the last few days. Maybe a quick heel, Nilesh.
Right. So yesterday we have seen a good spurt in this particular stock. The major trend, no doubt, was looking weak, but after yesterday's move, looks like the counter has formed a short-term base formation. Good volume attraction was seen yesterday. Sort of a follow-up move can be seen towards 360.
Follow-up move can be seen. Nilesh, sorry, I'll have to cut you there because the markets are just starting. This is the penultimate day to the big RBI policy. Will we see some large action? For now, we're starting off maybe a tad bit better than what the implied open may have suggested. 0.25% on the banks is not a bad thing, by the way. IT is flat. Let's get the mid cap and the small caps. 0.4% for the mid caps. They are not phased. By the way, the small cap index 0.5%. So come pre-policy day or no, there is activity at the broader end of the spectrum. They, remember, outperformed the large caps in yesterday's trade too. Let's get the heat map up on the screen though. Let me mark the large caps first and show you what's happening and what's not. A fair degree of green, very little red on a day when the Nifty is just up 0.2%. Dr. Reddy's 2.5% higher. There is strength in Eternal. Power Grid we spoke about, it's been stuck in a range, just about 0.75%. No news per se. Shriyam Finance keeps on bobbing in this list of greens. There is some strength for Cipla, Trent, TCS. It seems that IT is now starting to perk up a little bit. There is maybe Adani Ports, Adani Enterprises, BEL from amongst the industrial names which are doing okay. But clearly, the one name that is taking it, doing very well today, Tamanna, is Dr. Reddy's 2.5% or nearly 3% higher for this one today.
Yeah, so a bit of a defensive play. Eternal continues its up move, but let's just take a look at what the broader markets are doing very quickly before we move ahead. The Nifty mid-cap 150, barely 0.25% up. Frankly, it's the small cap 250 that's doing better this morning, about 0.5% up. Let's pull up the India VIX just for a second before we move ahead and get to the sectoral heat map, and then we'll see what bank and IT are also doing. India VIX actually looking pretty mellow. This is good. This is showing that there is not too much stress right here on the street, poised for a breakout perhaps. Bank Nifty completely flat. Let's pull up the sectoral heat map and see what's really winning today. We told you this morning that rate sensitives will be in focus. A 25 basis point is something that the street is anyway expecting to come. Could you see a 50 basis point tomorrow in terms of a rate cut from Governor Malhotra? So you're seeing realty stocks doing okay. Nifty Pharma being pulled up by Dr. Reddy's more than anything else, honestly, and small cap, the broader indices also doing okay. So this is a pretty healthy open at a time when there's not too much movement or news flow one way or the other. FMCG stocks sulking to some extent, but not too much to complain, just 0.25% down on that index. The game is stock specific. Let's look at what's been on our radar since this morning. Indegene, I want to pick up. Details came out late last night of the kind of key investors who've come in, include Sunil Singhania's Abacus, Premji Trust. A lot of those have come in and picked up the block deal. So that's stock about 2% up. in morning trade. PB Fintech has seen a positive view from Citi. You will see brokerage notes push what's happening in the markets as well. So that's about 0.5% up. New Gen in Focus was on our watch list. It's got a $2.5 million order win. That stock is possibly one contender for stock of the morning, about 7% up this morning. Force Motors has had a good set of sales numbers for the last month, nearly 3% up on that stock. Gland Pharma, HAL, these are all newsmakers really. Gland Pharma, their subsidiary, has got adverse observations from the French regulator, although in its exchange filing, the company has said that it's not going to stop any of its work at that particular facility in France. Hindustan Aeronautic has issued a denial on a media report saying that its talks with GE were stalled. That stock is about 1.5% up this morning. Wellspun Living, huge upside coming in from Jefferies, 6% up on the stock, so that's doing well as well. Some of the railways are continuing to buzz. They were at least in the pre-open session, and you're seeing that right now. Rides, Jupiter Wagon, IRFC, some of them that are continuing to buzz. I just want to see what's happening with IGI. A positive view from Morgan Stanley that has maintained an overweight and a target price of 533 for IGI. That stock about 3.5% up. So some winners out there today, but a lot of it stock specific.
Absolutely. Newgen Software, by the way, now 8% higher. Wellspun Living 5.4%. But I want to focus on a couple of others. FACT, FACT, which is your fertilizer company, and incidentally, quite a few fertilizer companies as well as insecticide and pesticide companies doing particularly well. But will that thesis of an early onset of the monsoon boding well for agriculture as a whole continue? Because that Citi note pointing to the possibility that an early monsoon may not be such a good deal for the spatial distribution of the monsoon. There's also BSE, which I want to focus on today. It's up about 2.5% in trade today and building on gains from the recent past. So Nilesh, the question to you is, BSE and a couple of other capital market players are back in focus, something like a CDSL as well. Would you trade this right now? Would you enter at these levels?
Right, Alex. So we have seen a good momentum in exchange stocks and also a couple of broking stocks as well. Looking at the momentum in BSE, I think there is still some more room left on the upside. The momentum should extend further towards 2950 to 3000. But it's already up close to 8% this week, and this has been almost 9 consecutive weeks of gain for this particular stock. So not advisable to chase at high levels. The risk and reward is not favorable, but yes, in multiple tranches it can be added and accumulated as a positional bet. There is a possibility of counter to move beyond 3000 going forward. But at present, CDSL, yes, this stock is looking positive for further up move towards 1780 to 1800, can be added at current level, keeping a stop loss below 1680. So the structure of CDSL looks positive. Apart from that, within broking space, Angel One is something that is looking attractive given the kind of technical breakout that we can see. So this counter looks positive for 3250 kind of levels on the upside. Stop loss can be placed below 3100.
Okay. I just want to get a view on insecticides India, for example, which is not doing too much today, but let's pull up a Bayer Crop Science as well. It was up and about recently. It's up another 1/3%. We just spoke about fertilizers or rather FACT. Nirav, I'm just wondering, some of these agri plays, there's a seasonality associated with them, and they moved up quite substantially in the recent past. Are you keeping any of these on your radar? Do you own any of them?
Well, yes. In the fertilizer space, we have been quite active in Deepak Fertilizers and the phosphoric acid plays. And most of these companies have been backwardly integrated. They are working. They've done a lot of work on backward integration, crop nutrition business, water soluble fertilizers, specialty nutrients, etc. So in a way, I think the product mix of the companies has been changing, and they are moving from the more traditional form of fertilizers like the urea to diammonium phosphate to NPK. Interestingly, the share of NPK in the product mix has been improving with backward integration in place. There is the raw material pressures have also kind of subsided. The power costs have been going down. So there's a lot of focus which is there on cost control, cost reduction, operational efficiencies, etc. Deepak Fertilizers, for example, has set up one of the largest ammonia plants in the world, and that helps them in the strategy of risk mitigation and value capturing. So I think there is a lot of exciting things which are happening in the entire fertilizer space. There are a lot of companies which are working on expansion as well. For example, Chambal Fertilizers is there. They are working on specialty nutrients. They're working on a TAN-related project, technical grade ammonium nitrate. We have RCF, which is working on an expansion story. So it's just not the seasonality element. It's just not selling the fertilizers, but essentially doing a cost control exercise and improving the product mix.
Okay, we were talking about this and we haven't marked it, but it's moving very dramatically. Deccan Gold Mines, if we can pull up that stock, there is a significant update for the company in that the Jonagiri Gold project has received consent to operate from the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board, and the stock is up as much as 12%. Not the largest stock. I'm not sure, Nirav, if you've looked at it at any point. This would be a significant development for them, wouldn't it?
Well, on and off, one does tend to hear some developments with respect to this company, but I think, frankly, not tracked this company.
Nilesh, any view on the charts, if at all, and give us an idea as to whether, see, there will always be the interest in a stock that has moved up 10% in one session in a few minutes. But would you ride that train?
See, Alex, first of all, it looks like it's only BSE listed stock, and technical structure, if you just pull up last 1.5 year chart, you can see the counter is forming a big rounding bottom formation. So structure as of now looking strong. I won't advise taking any fresh long end position at current market price, but yes, if somebody is holding, then I would advise to stay put, because the stock has the potential to move further towards 175 to 180 kind of levels, because the breakout looks very strong from a big rounding bottom formation. So stop loss for existing long position should be placed below 159. If at all you see any small dip towards 160, that can be used as a buying opportunity, but keep a stick stop loss below 158.
Okay, what else? I mean, remember, viewers, that the morning may be looking slightly flattish for the large caps, but the broader end of the spectrum is decent. Look at, for example, Lloyd's Metal. It's slowly but surely in the last few days and weeks crept up quite significantly. If you look at maybe the 30-day chart for Lloyd's Metal, there's serious up move there, right? 1 week 12%, 1 month about 26%. It's not a tiny tuned company. Probably signifies what metal companies have gone through. Any thoughts here, Nirav Ashar, on a Lloyd's Metal? Has picked up significantly. Are the valuations rich now? Would you book money if you were long?
No, if one were to see the performance of Lloyd's Metal, we just had a chance to glance through the recent annual reports, and there's been phenomenal growth which the company has achieved in the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, the turnover has more than doubled during the last couple of years, and there's been a significant improvement in the bottom line as well. So I think much more exciting times are there in store as far as Lloyd's Metal is concerned. So one should stay invested in the stock.
Okay. Point well noted. We're just waiting for a telephonic interview with a management on a stock which is very, very active. But just one quick word, Nilesh, on the metals pack, whether it's Lloyd's, whether it's JSW Steel, what have you. Are you liking anything within the metal pack?
Frankly, the metal space, within this space, few selective names are only looking positive. Nifty Metal Index as a whole is witnessing some bit of consolidation. You have pointed out Lloyd's Metal. The structure, I was just looking at this particular counter, has given a good breakout on the chart. A new record high can be seen today as well. So breakout level was placed somewhere around 1480. So 1480 should be the stop loss for the long position, but target on the upside comes somewhere around 1600 to 1650. So big target can be seen in this particular stock. Structure looks very strong and setup is also looking positive. Apart from that, within metal pack, steel authority is something that is looking positive for short-term momentum to continue towards 135 to 138. Stop loss can be placed somewhere around 130.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. You may stay on though if you wanted to hear Mr. Hanuma Prasad. He's the Managing Director of Deccan Gold Mines. And as Alex pointed out, they've got the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board nod